Ave Regina,
Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus was passing through a field of grain on the Sabbath. His disciples began to make a path while picking the heads of grain. At this, the Pharisees said to him, "Look, why are they doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath?" He said to them, "Have you never read what David did when he was in need and his companions were hungry? He went into the house of God when Abiathar was high priest and ate the bread offering that only the priests could lawfully eat, and he shared it with his companions. Then he said to them, 'The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. That is why the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath.'" The Gospel of the Lord. The author of the letter to the Hebrews is counseling this community who he loves. He's saying God is not unjust so as to overlook your work. In other words, he's saying God appreciates what we do for work and what we do for productivity. And he loves you. It goes on to say, and the love you have demonstrates for his name by having served and continuing to serve the holy ones. In other words, the work isn't simply about gaining profit and productivity, but it's about also the work that benefits the whole community. And isn't this how a family operates? Parents work and labor for the sake of nurturing their family. And so does God. He labored on the cross to work for his family, to emancipate us. And the Sabbath then for us becomes a place where we need take time to remember that work has to be balanced and not an enslavement. That the work we do should not overshadow the relationship we have with God. There's a line that a spiritual director told me. He said, "The highest form of leisure is worship." And we can't displace that from the time to take servile work. Because although it's very easy to define ourselves by a profession, in worship we begin to see that what defines us is a union with Jesus Christ. Because of Jesus Christ, we are the beloved of God, and we have a place in heaven. That defines us. Our goal is not necessarily about a great stock portfolio. That's very disastrous these days anyways. Nevertheless, our goal is to go to heaven and to be with the Lord, where we will even have a job in heaven probably. You mean you have to work in heaven? How many of you pray to St. Anthony? You put him to work every day, looking for your keys, okay? His intercessory prayers, all right? And so, in the same way that God gives us the dignity to be productive do something with the gifts that we have and actually even be proud of that. Not to a sinful degree, but he gives us these gifts so that we can be productive and assist him in the management of creation, especially with our families. Adam and Eve were made to work, and they're told that right at the beginning. Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. He gave them the task of managing the earth, which we have. And yet, at the same time, they also were given the privilege of meeting with this God who is above all things, who created them. They experienced a type of worship with God and a union and kinship with him. The highest form of worship for us as Catholics is the Mass. Because in the Mass, it's not just about me fulfilling an obligation, but at the Mass, he allows us to come to him so he can fulfill his obligation to you by sacrificing himself and being present to you, body, blood, soul, and divinity, in the Eucharist. He wants to honor his responsibility to you, but he doesn't force us, but he invites us every Sunday to be here, to worship him and receive his presence and remind us of who we are, his beloved children, and where we're going, to heaven.
Regina Caeli,
Letare, alleluia, qui aquam meruisti portare, alleluia, resurrexit sicut dixit,